I wanted to do a follow-up to my video about hunting radio communications. I talked about several different radios that I was going to try out in Texas this year and sort of picked a winner. And I want to follow up with that as to how they actually worked out in the field, specifically with the BTECH GMRS Pro, which is the one I picked or expected to perform the best in Texas. And I learned that I could have been wrong in my selection. So when we got there, before opening week even started, we decided to sit on two opposite ends of the property, basically the two stands that were furthest apart from each other, to get an idea of whether we'd be able to communicate with each other and which radios we should use, because we had more radios than we did people. And we wanted to know which radios, which antennas we should use for our hunting communications. Again, I want to give a disclaimer here that you need to check what your local regulations are, whether or not you're able to do this, because in some states it is illegal to communicate while hunting with radios, text, phone, things like that. So just make sure you understand what your local regulations are. I'm just sharing my experience in Texas. So, what are the radios we used? Well, as I already mentioned, we used the BTECH GMRS Pro. We used the Baofeng UV5G. This is just like the UV5R, but it's GMRS only. So, fairly new. You may also see them as the Baofeng UV5X, but they come in pairs. You can get one of your own if you want. And this is the Baofeng UV9G. So these two are waterproof. The UV5G is not. That's just a little disclaimer. I prefer waterproof because it rained a lot while we were there and I don't want my radio getting broken by the rain. So how did they perform? Like I said, we tested all the radios. You can see I don't have an antenna on this one right now. I tested all of them with the rubber ducky and with aftermarket antennas that I have. This is a signal stick that I have on the GMRS Pro that also works on the UV9G, but it does not work on the UV5G. This requires a male antenna, and these are female antennas with the connection. So I do have aftermarket Nagoya 771G antennas for these. That was mainly what I tested them with. And then I used this signal stick and an Abri tactical antenna. So I ended up sticking with the signal stick. That's the one that I liked the best, just because it's small, it's easy to maneuver with, and it worked. So how did they perform? Well, you would think the $150 GMRS Pro would perform better than the $40 UV9G, which would perform better than the $25 UV5G. That's not what happened. The best performer was the UV9G by a noticeable difference. Clear audio. We were the same distance apart. It was about 1 mile apart over somewhat hilly terrain, including sitting in a car, which was all metal, including sitting in blinds that were metal. Did several tests with several different antennas, things like that. Every time the UV9G outperformed the other two, and it's waterproof, and it's only $40. This was an amazing radio. I'm going to buy more of these because of how well it performed in Texas. Really, really happy with the performance of the UV9G. So which one was next in best performance? Well, surely it's the $150 GMRS Pro. Nope. UV5G outperformed the GMRS Pro. Really disappointed with how this GMRS radio performed in the field. In addition to that, it has some extra features. I know people like the extra features that it has, like the Bluetooth connectivity, the APRS functionality of it, the limited APRS functionality of it, and the texting. I was actually kind of excited about the texting part. One of my buddies got a GMRS Pro also, so that we could text each other through the radio. Well, it's not a text like your phone. So when you send out that text, anyone with a GMRS Pro in range also receives that text. You're not directly texting, at least in any way I could figure out with this radio. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me down in the comments, but the only way I could figure out, looking at YouTube videos, looking at how the texting works, looking at the manual, was you send a text out and anyone with a GMRS Pro receives that text message that is within range. Well, it makes sense. It's going over radio waves, and it's just like talking over the radio. Anybody on that channel can hear what you're saying. It's not private. Well, neither is the texting feature. So that really doesn't add a whole lot to me. I can text through my phone, or I can just talk on the radio. I have the earpiece, so I can be quiet if I need to. So those extra added features in the GMRS Pro really don't sell it for me. And the fact that the audio quality was worse than these other two radios, that's just not worth the cost of admission for the GMRS Pro. You might also be able to see the screen got scratched on my GMRS Pro. And I didn't drop it or anything like that. I kept it inside my hoodie pocket, so it's nice and soft inside there. That seems pretty easily scratched, if you ask me. And it is a big screen. That's one of the draws of the GMRS Pro versus the UV9G. It's a smaller screen, but again, the audio quality was so much better on this UV9G, and it's waterproof, and it's a third of the cost, not even that much. So this is going to be my new hunting communication radio, the UV9G. I was just really impressed with how it works. Funnily enough, it also has a different belt clip on it that I actually like better than the belt clip on the UV5G or the GMRS Pro 2. It's very easy to get that off when it's on your belt and just hangs there nice. You hardly even notice it's there, and it's easy to get out when you need to talk to somebody. So, big loser, GMRS Pro. Everyone talks about what a great radio this is and how excited they were for it and spent lots of money, and it was always sold out. Well, I can't recommend it. I'm not even sure I'm going to keep it based on its performance in Texas. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the real outdoors.